I hope the appropriate people had a nice Mother's Day.
I did. Thank
You're
you.
here. All right. We're streaming.
Okay, just waiting for Caroline.
Yep.
Cool.
I have to shrink this down because I forget which screen I'm supposed to be looking at. So if I leave the live stream up, it's about a 5-second delay. I'm sure there are people out there smart enough to keep track of all of those things. My brain is not one that can do that.
I felt badly I couldn't keep track of the links. And when I went back, I saw that you had already sent the live thing last week. So I think
It's too early.
Everyone's balancing things. So
Way too much. It's too early. I mean, I know, I think there's a way I can set up for automatic reminders of those things. So well, Mark, if you want to, we can get started with the budget presentation. In any case, if anybody wants to rewatch that, it'll be recorded on YouTube and available on the website.
Okay. All right, then that sounds good. So I'd like to call to order the Monday, May 9th, 2022 board meeting with the first order of business being the budget presentation. So,
Okay.
Carrie, I'll.
Yep. Give me a second. I'll get that shared up.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Caroline.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Happy Mother's Day belated.
Oh, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Okay. I believe everybody should be looking at the budget presentation. Or well, you look at the agenda. Now you're looking at the budget.
There we are. Okay. We have put together a budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. I'd like to highlight some important items in the budget for your information. The budget includes 2 new positions and some additional funds for physical and electronic collections to reduce wait times for popular titles. It also includes a one-time upgrade to the accounting system and accommodates some quite a significant increase in our energy costs. And another important piece of the budget accommodates the elimination of most library fines. And additionally, there are funds available for ongoing building maintenance, especially for some spaces that have not been updated in a long time. Overall, this budget reflects a levy increase of 3.25%, which is within the New York state cap limit. And we feel it provides for the delivery of services at the greatest value to the public.
I would like to add one more comment, more for the public who may be watching. I don't think anybody is surprised at the increase in our utility bills. I do want to point out, though, that the recent HVAC upgrade or replacement, whatever the appropriate word is, brought us savings. Okay, so we did have savings for a few years, and now we are going back up to previous levels. So we can take some comfort in that we did in the last few years, we did reduce that budget line from savings, and now it is going up again. So that's worth noting, I think.
Right. And our costs could be even higher if we hadn't had that
Absolutely
HVAC upgrade. So it was money well spent.
Yeah,
and I guess another thing I'd like to point out, we did not have a levy increase last year.
Right.
So this year we did need to make some adjustments and increase the budget. And although it seems a little high, it's not, it's certainly still within the New York State cap limit. And it really reflects a 2-year, an increase over a 2-year period.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sherry. I wanted to point out to the public too, this is the budget that starts July 1, correct?
Right.
Going forward, okay. And then we did not have a levy increase last year, so I just want to point that out again, so.
Mhm.
Can I just ask Sherry that you kind of emphasize how the 3.25 is the increase in the levy, because sometimes people think about 2% and caps and all the rest. Is there a way for you just to clarify that for the public? And then I have a question about the book sale.
Well, the reason that the levy increases is 3.25. You might want to consider that a portion of that 3.25% reflects an increase that we withheld from last year. Assume maybe last year we might have increased the levy by 1.5%. So a portion of that 3.25% increase reflects an increase from last year that we withheld.
Or maybe my question wasn't clear. I'm sorry. So sometimes people think 2% cap means 2%. The 2% hangs in people's mind, and that does not reflect actually. It's not 2% cap on the levy increase. That's correct. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
that's what I wanted to
that's
say.
right.
Yeah, and so when I say the $5,000 issue with the book sale, I assume that the money that the Friends collect will still benefit library programs, or am I wrong on that?
Yes, that's correct. But they'll just benefit us in a different way by supporting programs.
Great. Thanks, Sherry. I appreciate that. Let me look and see if there is any public comment either about the budget presentation or secondarily any general comments. And I am looking and I do not have any comments.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sherry. And any other questions on the budget before we move on here? Okay, great. We urge everyone to vote for the budget on next Tuesday, correctly, May 17th. Okay, so the next piece, we have no public participation, right, Jeff?
That is correct.
Okay, so previous meeting minutes, pages 3 through 8. We'll take a quick second to look through those.
Just a heads up, there are 2 different meeting minutes.
Okay. So I guess we'll do the first one first. I'll take a motion on the first set of meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the previous meeting minutes.
Okay, Michelle, second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Charmaine, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand, say aye. Okay, any opposition, abstentions? Okay, the motion's carried. Going to the second meeting minutes, which was the meeting of the special meeting on April 27th.
I make a
So-
motion.
I'm
to
sorry, go
accept
ahead,
those
Mary.
minutes.
And I'll second it, Mark.
Okay, great. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, great. And any opposition, abstentions? Okay, that meeting minutes motion carries as well. Okay, moving on to financial report on page 10. Our treasurer's report.
Okay. Jeff, I don't know if you want to scroll up to the actual report, you know, the numbers. Yeah, thanks. So the revenue and expense report through April continues to show underspending in most categories, with expenses currently tracking at about 8% under budget, which is consistent with last year at this time. We did receive the final tax payment for the year of $70,753. And our revenue stands at 100% of the budget. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions about anything or any of the lines.
I did want to ask, when did we enter into the investment agreement? The Treasury.
That was going to be my next part of the discussion. I thought maybe we'd
Okay.
go through, this report first. I'm definitely going to report on that.
Okay.
I just wanted to, if anybody has any questions about the report or any other comments, and then I'll move on.
Yeah, just for the rest of the board, I did ask Jeff, and I said I would raise at the meeting to be ready to clarify the expenditures for print versus electronic media. And I don't know, Jeff, if you want to kind of reiterate that for what you told me on the board, the percentages. Yep.
I'll just run through quickly. So in this report, you can see in the middle of the page, you'll see library materials print and library materials electronic and audio. As a comparison of the expensed amounts, the expensed amounts of print materials look lower, but because print materials are ordered so far in advance, the encumbered number, which is not a column on this report, would show much more of that line being expensed. It's just that when we order books, they're frequently sometimes up to 6, but usually about 4 months pre-pub. So we manage this line carefully to make sure that we're spending the money appropriately. And then at the end of the year, the cutoff between when something is an encumbered expense that moves over to the next year, or it moves over as accounts payable. Tanya, this takes a significant amount of time to manage that, and we talk with our accountants about what that cutoff date is. So electronic materials are sort of ordered and expensed immediately. It's a much faster encumbrance expense cycle. Just the nature of ebooks. We certainly know those books are coming, but they're not considered ordered until they actually are ordered and ready to go. So that's the variance in those two lines as far as the expensed amounts.
And Sherry, I imagine the check to Dell that it relates to the Chromebook, which will be reported out later, correct? There's like a $16,000 payment to Dell.
Yeah, we did purchase, forget how many, but a number of new laptop computers.
Okay, any further questions on the line items in the financial report, Trish? Okay.
I also want to report that we did make the purchase of a $1 million 6-month treasury bill with an investment yield of 1.365%. The purchase was made on May 3rd. It's completed on May 3rd. Our actual cost was $993,201.88. We've set up a new account in the general ledger to help us track it. And our next month's cash and investment report will reflect it. So you'll see it there.
So that would show under investments down below.
I'm leaning.
Or you're
towards
still
not-
toying with it, but it's going to show on there someplace as an asset.
Yeah, I think we're going to keep it under cash because
Okay,
it's,
that's fine.
it's not really any different than a CD. I mean, I think we
Yes,
would probably
I
keep
agree.
CD under cash. Yeah.
Thanks again, Sherry, for finding that investment opportunity.
Yeah. TD Bank was great to work with. They were very helpful. They held our hands walking us through the process because obviously we never did this before. So it was good.
Yeah. All right, great.
So the 6-month treasury bill will be due on November 3rd. And, as we approach that date, we can talk about what we want to do, if we want to renew it or purchase, treasury bills in different amounts or for different time periods. I'll be monitoring the interest rates and, our cash flow to make a recommendation as to what we think might be the best thing to do.
Great. Good.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions on that or further questions for Sherry? Okay.
I'll go
great.
ahead and make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as is shown in the budget packet, including the payment warrants.
Okay. Okay.
One second.
Okay, Michelle, thank you. All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay, great. That's helpful. Personnel report, page 18.
Okay,
Jeff?
on here, I'm happy to report that Lauren Kozilski will be joining us as our new librarian too. That position has been open for quite a while with some civil service wrinkles as far as our hiring process. But in any case, that is all well in our past, and we're happy to welcome her. She'll be arriving with us on Thursday. So we're excited to get her started and start bringing that department back up to full strength. So she will be our program and outreach team lead, and we are excited to have that. You'll see. We'll talk about programs later on in the report. But anyway, I'm happy to report that that's filled. I'm requesting 2 positions. One is a part-time library page for 12.8 hours a week in collection maintenance, and one is a part-time circulation clerk for 11.67 hours per week. And we're just requesting to backfill those positions.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, I need a motion then to approve the personnel report.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And I'm just scrolling through here, seeing no opposition. That motion carries. Thanks. Okay, great. We had another personnel action too, I think, to talk about.
I make a motion to approve. Do we have any discussion on this, or I'm ready to make a motion?
I think we're good. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the director to enter into a settlement agreement for the amount of $37,373.52.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, second, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. Seeing no opposition, any abstentions? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, great. So now we'll go into UHLS report. If there's anything to report?
Are we doing director's report first?
We can circle back to directors, no worries.
I'm sorry, we can, we'll flip it up. We'll do
Yeah.
UHLS first. I'll flip it up.
Okay. This is a busy time of year at UHLS. We're considering the annual award submissions. We've got about a dozen of those. We'll be doing that this week. I think most people got an email regarding the annual celebration being moved to Friday, June 3rd. I think more details will be coming. And then the third thing I wanted to report is that the board finished the racial equity training, the 8-hour training that we did on May 2nd. And we're in the process of giving some feedback, and some other boards have already started doing this. I look forward to seeing how, it'll be interesting to see how they compress it for the 2 sessions that we'll be doing in early 2023. So, but that's it.
Okay, great. Any questions for Lisa? Okay.
I have one quick one. So that
Sure.
training team is the same training team that's working with individual libraries, correct?
It is, although I think depending upon scheduling, my understanding is that at times it could be one person versus both. Both of the members that we had for our sessions. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Lisa, is the UHLS annual, the awards banquet that they have, is that in person or is that virtual this year?
It's, well, Jeff's shaking his head.
It's so we talked
It's
about this.
different this year.
It's scheduled to be in person.
Oh,
So
Okay.
And they had to move it. They're hosting it at a library. So they're moving it there. Well, it doesn't matter. It's not a secret. They're going to host it at the Colony Public Library, and that's why they moved it from Wednesday to Friday, because Colony Public Library is closed on Friday night. So the time is available for people to come in person.
Okay. All right, great, thanks.
Okay, great. Go to the director's report.
Okay. All right. Here we go. So we'll just talk about COVID. I know everybody's sick of talking about COVID, but I can't, I still have COVID on the mind. So just want to report back. Masks are still optional at our library. We're not moving into a mandatory mask situation yet. We're continue to watch the numbers. Albany Public Library is of the large libraries, the one that has moved back to mandatory masks. Guilderland Public Library has moved towards asking or strongly suggesting, which is sort of in line with the county's recommendation. We have done the same thing. We put signs at the entrances to the libraries, letting people know that we're in an area of substantial high community transmission, and that masks are strongly recommended by the Albany County Department of Health. I will report that many people are choosing to wear masks, both from staff and public. It seems to be working decently for us. So I'm just going to recommend that we hang out here for now. We'll continue to look at those numbers and watch the hospitalization rates in the community. And obviously, if there was any mandatory mask policies coming or law regulations coming from the county or the state, we would of course follow those. So that's where we are right now. Happy to talk about that if you want to. I just wanted to highlight that the partnership with the Town Emergency Management Office continues to bear fruit. They're great, very responsive to us over there. We've handed out more than 2,000 COVID-19 rapid test kits and also about 1,000 KN95 masks. The supply of KN95 masks is a little bit, we sort of have them when we have them from over there, but they've been very, very good and very responsive to us. And I just want to publicly thank them here and let you all know just how much we appreciate that partnership with the town. And there are other libraries in the area just simply don't have that level of connection. And I really appreciate how well that's worked out and how we've been able to get those test kits out into the community, which is great. Mostly just mentioned that we're sort of under a long-term campaign to replace our gas-powered, yard tools with electric battery electric tools. They are significantly quieter. This started with the leaf blower, which we moved to the only recommended leaf blower that doesn't require mandatory hearing protection. So it's significantly quieter. And we do use these tools a lot, and we like to not annoy our neighbors. So we have that one, and we have a small mower. There's still some gas-powered equipment that we have to have, the large walk-behind large deck mower. I don't know if there's a battery-powered version of that yet, but we just continue to look at those things as we can, as sort of these tools reach the end of their service life. It's just a good idea for us to replace those. The maintenance level alone, with the infrequent use of something like a chainsaw, just doesn't need a lot of use. And the battery ones are working really well. We're happy to see them. Even the tree company that we hired to come down and take the trees down, they were using a lot of battery powered chainsaws. They just said they're quieter and more efficient, and they use less maintenance. So we're happy with them. We pulled back the Intrepid Sierra and Land Museum. Just got some questions about museum passes lately. We've renewed almost all of them. This one was an expensive pass that got used very infrequently last year. We'll consider bringing it back maybe when things stabilize as far as COVID is concerned and people are traveling around a little bit more. So.
Jeff,
Yep.
I wanted to ask, is there a way to check when people search for a museum pass to know if people are interested in a certain pass?
We really count on people coming in and talking to us about them. And so I don't think we have a good way for the search on them. We hunt other libraries and we see what they have, and we try to be out ahead of them. And go ahead.
Well, the reason I asked is we have a family connection to the Intrepid, and they were actually closed for most of the past year.
Yep.
So no doubt that impacted the ability of people to request the museum pass. And they usually have 1 million visitors a year pre-COVID. Yep. So it's a really great museum. When I saw this in your report, I was a little sad that we didn't have the museum pass anymore, although I understand if it's expensive and it hasn't been open the past year, that's an issue, possibly a different issue. But so I just wondered how you would make the decision to add it back in if we don't know who's searching for the pass. It's just if people come in and ask about it.
If they come in and ask, and I think people are pretty pretty open with us when they find a museum that they say, we really should have a museum. And some of them don't offer passes. So we get this about the Clark. That's a lot closer, but we'll hear that about the Clark all the time. They're not selling passes. That's not the way the Clark operates. So so people are pretty open with us about that, but we'll watch that. And I think we'll go back and look at some of those pre-COVID numbers, and we'll I'm ready to bring it back. I'm not getting rid of it because I didn't think it was valuable. Yeah, Caroline.
And has it expired already, or is it still good for a little while longer? Our pass.
I'm going to have to kick that one to Chris. I don't know.
Okay.
I believe it expires at the end of this month.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that last part.
At the end of the month.
Yep, the end of the month.
Okay. All right. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Caroline.
Sorry. I think I was the one coughing. Is there a mechanism kind of on the website or something along those lines to request a museum pass?
You can,
Or-
it's just a request materials. It's like any kind of book request or movie request that form's up there. And
Okay.
it's also available in paper in the library. So,
Okay, so that's a secondary avenue to say, hey, we want this museum pass.
absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
Well, wait, how could that be, hey, we want this, it won't be on the list to request it?
No, but there's a form on the website. You can request additional material. Like if you
Yeah,
saw
anything.
a
So
book-
sometimes,
Oh, I
a
see.
book
I
or
see.
a DVD
Gotcha.
or CD or museum pass. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, good.
and we have Chris has lined us up. We're officially part of the Memorial Day parade on Monday, on Memorial Day. So that's good. We're happy to participate in that once again. We'll have the library van and a float down there that is going to be put together by our teen volunteers. So we're excited about that. And any and all of you are invited to march if you're interested. Just shoot me over for the details, and we'll get lined up, on Ridge Road, just like we always do every year. So,
What's the giveaway this year?
the giveaway, I think we're going to do pencils again.
Okay.
And then the theme, we're going to go with the Summer Reading Club theme, the Oceans of Possibility. So we have a lot of things that we can kind of make an
Sure.
ocean theme float. So.
Hey, Jeff, if we go, is there like a t-shirt you can give us or something so that we could wear? Do you have like a Bethlehem t-shirt? Are there library t-shirts?
I don't have any Bethlehem Library
Oh,
t-shirts. We
okay.
can talk
I just
about
was
it.
wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, just thinking. All right,
I don't,
thanks.
yeah, right. I mean, we know who you are, and if you're with the float, people are,
Yeah.
come along and be very popular. So, I can't go through all the programs that we did this month. It's really nice for me. Just I will say generally, thank you to all the staff from the Public Services Department. You can see that we're really ramping back up the programming. So we're excited to see that. We have outdoor story times returning for our littlest patrons, and that is super exciting to see. The baby bounce and movement and music. We are having 50 and 60 people attending these programs, so we're excited about that. I think that energy is important for us, but just a real trove of some great programs from the past month, and I'm really proud of what we're offering. I know the dog hiker book talk was long awaited and kept having to be rescheduled, so we were happy that finally worked out. And Alan Via's dog Toby was along, a very popular part of any program to have the dog there, so that's good. Just to talk about outreach a little bit, we have lots of teen volunteers who want to work in the library. We have actually had to, we were taking a wait list, and now we've had to cut that off. I think there must have been a huge backlog of teens that are impending graduation and need some more hours. So we're accommodating them, absolutely as many of them as we can. Just sort of brings up the need for this volunteer coordinator position that we're proposing to add in the budget, just to to try to accommodate more requests. It's kind of an interesting thing to think about the service, the volunteer, as the service that the library provides to members of our community. But really there's a need for lots of volunteer opportunities, not just for teens, but for lots of folks in the community. So that's just a continued increased focus on that. And then we've got Chromebooks are in and circulating, which is great. We had a patron request. Speaking of patron requests, we had a patron request, underwater cameras for when you go on vacation. You don't want to own an underwater camera. When you want to check one out from the library, you can go snorkeling. And we added a floating wrist part of that so if the camera gets released, it goes up rather than down. So that seemed like a smart move on our part. So that came from them. And then we'll talk about Wi-Fi hotspots later. Lots of good training this month. We trained the supervisors up on the FMLA and large portion of the library participated in an American Library Association training on cultural competence. So it was unable to be recorded because it's, the intellectual property of the presenters, but we were able to get the maximum number of people that we could together during daytime for the library. And I'm pleased to report that several folks who were normally not scheduled to be on that time were able to participate as well remotely. So that was really good. I think really well received by the staff. We did meet briefly with a member of the Del Mar Progress Club. They are interested in partnering and increasing their ties with their historical ties. As you know, that was the group that started the library in 1913, and they are interested in sort of strengthening the ties with the library and with the Friends of the Library. So already there was a Friends of the Library meeting, and they came participated. They're sort of signing up as a group to be a member of the Friends, which is a new relationship for the Friends of the Library, but they're figuring this out as we go along. So it's just good to have another resource to tap into people who are very interested in working with and supporting the library. And they made sure they met with me and Mark, and they wanted to reiterate that they're interested in what they can do to support the library, as far as what actions can they take to support the library. They're interested in that. So in addition, we did submit, there was some information that was flying around about some federal grant money. We did submit for something we're calling the EPINC, the Emergency Pop-Up Internet Network Kit with Satellite Service. So we're looking to have some federal grant money to support what would be a battery-powered satellite uplink internet kit that would be would be portable, but could also provide backup internet to the library if power was out, and if the internet was out. We've experienced that semi-recently, where everybody lost internet, and then the cell phone towers all lost power, and there was no internet in the community. So this would allow us to continue to have internet access because it would be satellite uplink. So we'll let you know as we hear. The federal gears grind slow, but we'll I'm excited to put that in. And then we have at least one MLS intern, the library school intern, coming in who's going to work with the library this summer. So we're excited for that. That has also been a while since that system was up and running. So we're excited to be able to have those folks back. Just wanted to roll down here a little bit. We got some great pictures. We'll talk about some numbers. We had a really good circulation month. We are, if you look on circulation total, the total circulation for last year, the 2021 year, now acknowledging that that's the pandemic year, 469,000. Already for fiscal year to date, we're already ahead of that number. We're up to almost 500,000, 488,000 circulations this year. So the next 2 months, pure bonus. May and June, that's all going to be significantly higher circulation than the previous year. So we're, really circulation is coming back. It's not our only measure of how busy we are, but it certainly is an important statistic as we, we look at how is the library operating, what is the library doing. We're starting to see that number come back up. So that
does that compare to like 18, 17? 19.
Yeah, we're at, I keep throwing around the number. I don't want to give you a percent without being accurate about it, but we're somewhere north of 90%, maybe 95% of what we would consider normal in a pre-pandemic year.
Great.
So business is really starting. That part of our business is starting to look exactly like what it used to. Again, programming is turning back up, which is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
We're still, if you look at door count, obviously this year, April 2022 is twice as busy as April 2021. No surprise there. But, a busy month in a pre-pandemic time would have been edging up to 20,000 people a month. So the door count is still significantly lower than what we would expect. And I think that's what we observe in the sort of the amount of the thing that I have not seen. The thing that continues to stick out as the most obvious thing is the study. This is AP time, right? APs are right now. And the last month should have been absolutely packed in the library. And that's, I think, I don't know exactly what all the factors are that are contributing to that, whether studying is happening virtually now, and everybody's much more comfortable with that as a way to study. There certainly are students studying in the library, and we're coming into finals time. That's gonna start, sort of now-ish, certainly starting, beginning of June. And we'll see how that works out over the summer, but it's that there's definitely still an impact to our business here. Those teens that were coming in and using the library as their study space are still not all the way back yet. It's still a noticeable difference.
Jeff, I will just mention, I had 2 teachers ask me this week, actually, if tutors were allowed back in the library, if study rooms were available. And so maybe it's that they, for whatever reason, just don't know that we're open for that.
Got it. I mean, yeah, that's fair enough. Maybe we need to just sort of explicitly state that. I mean, I think we found that last summer when we were at the farmers market. People were like, well, when are you going to open back up? And I'm like, we've been open, so maybe we'll just state that publicly, just to say, hey, this is here. We've returned a lot of the furniture that was taken out of the library is back. The study rooms are all available. So we haven't had to do sort of study hall at the library where we open up and make the community room available. It just hasn't been that much demand. So we'll continue to monitor that, make sure we have the space available for people.
Jeff, I had a quick question, just out of curiosity. How do you determine the door count?
How do we determine the door count? We have a people counter. So there's a people counter. Yeah, no, it really is. So each of the rooms, actually, the community room, the boardroom, story hour room, the entrances of the library, and the main entrance, what I consider the main entrance from the hallway into the main part of the library itself. That's what we take as the door count. We have counts on that, and it's sophisticated enough to know who's coming in and who's going out, so it can see the direction, but it's all on top of the head. It can't see anybody's face, so there's no privacy implications. But it does a pretty good accurate. We used to have one of those sort of beam break door counters, and we just took that number and divided by 2. That thing eventually died, and this was the replacement. We've been very happy with that. It's a really accurate way for us to count how many people are coming in and out of the library.
Jeff, just following up on the meetings room discussion.
Yep.
I think kind of given that the hardcore library users have all sort of returned to their pre-pandemic, usage model, it's probably worth some dedicated communication to reach out to the less common library users to make them aware of everything that's back now, right? That was temporarily gone. Because if we don't specifically reach out to them, it may take just forever for that information to trickle down to them.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you. All right, so those are, I think the numbers that, like I said, the circulation numbers look fantastic. Of course, we're up, but I think even comparing it to pre-pandemic, we're doing okay. And that just makes me happy to see sort of all or almost all of our traditional library services coming back online. And, yep. Thanks, Mary. What you got?
Conference rooms.
Yeah.
People have rooms booked. People are coming back. I think people are very happy to be using the rooms. Somebody asked me what I was hearing or what thoughts were about June. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with June. We don't know where pandemic numbers are going. I mean, theoretically, conference rooms could be.
I mean, they're open now. Yeah, we're not telling people that they can't meet, so we have had meetings in the boardroom. So all those rooms are open and available for the public to request now. I know that they're starting to be used more just because we're getting more collisions. The traditional problem that I used to have where groups were colliding into each other and, people would have a traditional slot and they didn't get the slot in time and other groups are moving in there. We're managing that as best we can. We're still, the numbers aren't all the way back to where they would be traditionally, but I'm still, we're getting a significant amount of use. I'm not going to, people's judgment of their safety as far as wanting to be in something like the boardroom with 20 people, and whether they have masks or not masks is not a decision that the library has to enforce right now. That is that's a decision that is left to individual groups and individuals. We're certainly ramping up our ability to allow the public groups to have hybrid meetings, because that's been a real demand. Some of the groups come in with their own technology. They do it. They put up a laptop, they Zoom people in, and they manage it themselves. But we're working on making that a little bit easier with the equipment that's in the library already, to allow people to do specifically that, where they might have 4, 5, 10, or 15 people, depending on which room in the room, but also have some folks who are immunocompromised or not comfortable coming into a public space, for whatever reason, allowing them to participate virtually as well. But we don't know what's going to happen with the numbers. But
Right. Thank you. What is the status of the community room and using the kitchen? And if people want to bring food and drink in, where are we with that?
all available.
Okay.
Yep.
Kitchen is available to
Yeah.
people that want to use the community
Yeah.
room and they can bring in their own snacks.
You
Okay.
got it.
Thank you.
The only reason we weren't allowing food was when we had a mandatory mask policy, because it's sort of incompatible. You can't be eating. How are you eating if your masks are
Yeah.
on? But as soon as that was optional, that is left to the group to decide what they want to do.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Maybe another service that we need to just reiterate. Hey, everybody, this is, the decision is yours now. The room is available for you. I'm not gonna, the statistics are here. I'm happy to take any questions on them. As Mary mentioned, the recent electrical use, I did want to highlight that because we talked about it in the budget. These pre HVAC numbers, if our electricity numbers were coming into a summer as high as what they were in 2016 and 17 before the HVAC renovation, we would be staring down a very expensive electricity summer. So, those changes, and gas was absolutely expensive this winter. I'm not, there's no doubt about that. We didn't use more gas than we had in the past, but electricity is significantly lower than it has been historically in the library. And that will continue to bear fruit every year, especially in times when electricity costs are very expensive. So thanks for mentioning that. And that's borne out by the numbers right here on this page. So that's my director's report, unless there's questions.
Any questions for Jeff? Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff. We'll move on to new business, the 5G cell phone hotspot proposal.
Okay, so we can go through this, but basically the question is this: we have to replace our current hotspot devices. We can replace them. They're on the Sprint network, and Sprint has been subsumed by T-Mobile completely. So anything with a Sprint SIM card just sunsets at the end of June, which is why I'm here talking about this now. They will no longer work. The devices we have will no longer work. We can either update to the new devices on that same 4G network, and that expense will be the same as it is now. Or we can take this opportunity to upgrade to 5G hotspots, acknowledging that the service on 5G is significantly more expensive than 4G. We are not receiving a ton of complaints about our current 4G service. It is sufficient download for folks to certainly check email, browse the web, listen to streaming audio, typically and usually watch video, but it is much less capable of allowing for bi-directional video conferencing like we're all doing here. That network is just not robust enough, and it's not just 4G, it's the oldest educational level of 4G. That's why it's so inexpensive every month. It is not an ideal, when we put them in, I think it was a good level of internet service. Certainly cell phone service has moved on significantly, but they're not offering us an upgrade at a similar cost to let us get to 5G, which would allow for, true, what we would call broadband internet access. So if we're replacing all the devices at the same time, I wanted to have a discussion here first about, are we comfortable offering this 4G service and acknowledging the limitations of it, or would we like to move our hotspots to 5G, but at an expense. So that's, there's a lot of details in there. We can talk about the details of the different services of them, but generally speaking, it's not that 4G speed internet isn't something we would be comfortable offering, in a physical internet access. It doesn't support what people are generally doing with modern internet. That said, it's very inexpensive. So I wanted to have that discussion here. There are some other options that involve filtering, which our library has been vehemently opposed to. So we don't retake some federal money that's available for internet access because they require internet filtering, and we, as we're in support of intellectual freedom, we do not accept internet filtering of our internet access. So of the choices that are available to us, basically, I just wanted to get some thoughts on that. We need to make a decision by next month, but I didn't know if there were some thoughts on basically.
Do we have any sense of what people are actually using the hotspots for? I mean, any chatter on that or anything? I know there's not probably data on that, but are they using it for like work, or are they using it for other things? I just don't know if you know of anything.
Yeah, again, we specifically don't have data on that on purpose. Right. But when people are talking about them, yes, all of that, right? Whether it's to travel. People are using it for that. Some people have been using it to support, the educational stuff. They don't have internet access in the home, and they wanted to support that. Though the school has been quickly filled in on people who need that for their remote education, and then also, for just general internet purposes. So, but what they do not, we have had some staff people who have been on these devices while we have been in the middle of COVID and had people working remotely. What they do not do well, even when they are in Signal, is handle a video conference very well at all. We've tested this out. We know, as we have staff people who were sent home with these, and being able to use Microsoft Teams or Zoom to participate in a teleconference, they're not working very well for that. If they work, they'll lose connection, or you get really pixelated. It is what it is.
Jeff, I had a question. Go ahead.
Oh, did we check any of the other providers? AT&T, Verizon?
We did. So they're both AT&T and Verizon are on state contract, and the reason they weren't presented to you is they're significantly more expensive. So their 5G service is $40 a month and up. So we've sort of controlled this down. Both of the 5G services that we have, one is T-Mobile and one is a reseller of T-Mobile. So, really, if we were going to do that, if we're going to go with 5G, my recommendation would be just to go straight with T-Mobile. You'd rather be a primary customer of a tier 1 cell phone service provider than a customer of a secondary reseller of that cell phone data, which is Mobile Beacon. If we're going with the 4G service, then I think Mobile Beacon is clearly a choice. It's, their service is $10 a month as opposed to $28.45 or whatever it is, $28 a month. So it's a significant difference. So,
Jeff, I wondered, I was looking at your chart now that you scrolled up on page 28. Yep. Over 3 years, it looks like Mobile Beacon and T-Mobile are similarly priced over 3 years.
Correct.
But if I'm reading the chart correctly, it's in the 4th year where you would start saving money if you're going with Mobile Beacon, right? Because Mobile Beacon is $7,200 a year.
Correct.
So if you just added onto this chart and did a combined 4-year cost, Mobile Beacon is significantly cheaper.
It starts to become cheaper. And then, what we're not reflecting in here is the device expenses are a little bit hard for us to calculate, because we do end up replacing them probably more than, not significantly more, but more often than you might for a personal device, because they tend to get used a little bit harder. So we end up replacing them. Sometimes they're under warranty, and I don't want to get too wrapped up in the device costs because we haven't begun to negotiate with them yet. And frequently when we get into this, when we talk to T-Mobile, there may be a chance, they say, oh, we can get you a better device for cheaper, So I don't want to get too hung up on that. Basically, I'd like to look at, this core question is, do we want to move in a direction where we have, 5G? If we do, it's going to be more expensive. I mean, that's, $3,600 a year versus $10,000 a year. It's 3 times more expensive, or at least, at least twice as expensive to supply that, 5G.
Do we have a sense of who uses this service? So for instance, if I hear that the product that we have, and perhaps the product that we're getting, is not the ultimate high level 5G, I probably get better 5G in my house than somebody could get with these hotspots. So am I correct that maybe a lot of people that are using these are people that may have like no service in their homes at times, or
That is
certainly
correct.
vacation? Okay, but
Right.
Are we really bringing this to a segment of the population that is in need?
Yes, mostly Bethlehem users, as it turns out, and absolutely right across the spectrum. Some people who don't have internet access at all. Some people who want to go on vacation, who have internet access in their homes, but want to use that when they're on vacation.
How long do people keep one of these? How long is it available?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Is it automatically renewed?
No.
Is there a fine?
Yes.
And there will continue to be a fine.
Yes.
Okay.
How many devices, Jeff?
We have 15.
30.
30. Oh, I'm sorry. Yikes. Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah,
If somebody does not
the
return
usage
one,
was
can we disable it?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I got 2 questions there. Harmeet, what was your
Sorry.
question?
I was just remembering we upped it to 30 because the usage was
Correct.
quite aggressive. Yeah.
Right. And they're all checked out. 30 seems to be, the current collection seems to be able to fill the hold list without significantly long wait times. There's a hold list right now. 3 or 4 people are on the hold list, but it's not, 50 people on the hold list waiting for them.
Yeah, my apologies. It's right one on the lines there. Number of devices, sure. Okay.
Yep. So I just didn't know if people had questions about the quality of the internet access that we're providing, if we, felt that having something is better than nothing. And I firmly agree with that. But do we want to be, is it worth that additional expense to upgrade to sort of modern internet?
Based on the chart, it looks like it's a no-brainer because it's 30,000 versus 29 over 3 years, right? And the cost is the same, roughly. Am I reading that correctly?
So if you go down to the combined 3-year cost, so just use these as rough numbers.
Yeah.
$10,000 over the 3-year cost for the mobile beacon versus 30-ish for either of the other 2 services.
Right. So that's the question is, do you want to spend 10 or 11 or 30? And then is that 30, whatever the difference is there, it seems really minimus. But yeah.
Yeah, I think if we were going to go with 5G, I'd be recommending T-Mobile. I think that we had a few of these devices during the pandemic, and we were very pleased with the level of service that we got with them. So we were just testing them out. We thought they were great, but again, it's $30 a month versus $10 a month.
Right.
I would also ask the question, considering the potential of some hard economic times coming, are we considering that 30 may not be enough 6 to 12 months down the road, that we may want to be looking at, so if for instance, let's say 12 months from now, we said 30 isn't enough, we need to up this number, we need to make it 50.
Yep.
What does that do to $30,000? Does it become 50, or can we just piggyback on this number?
Yeah, I think if you're going to double it, take that T-Mobile column. If you were going to double it to 60, you double that number.
Okay. All right. Because I think that may be a real possibility, that there may be more of a need than ever if things get rough for people. But
Jeff, you said we had to decide this by next
Next
have
month.
some
Yeah,
time.
I know the trustees like to mull. I hate to impose a deadline on you. It's just that's those Sprint cards, that Sprint network that we've been very pleased with them. And make no bones about it. It's been very good. They've been very stable, limited as they are. We've been pleased with the service, but it's they're going to sunset by the end of June, so we do have to make a decision. But I wanted to present this to you, give a chance for you to talk about it, think about it a little bit, and we can come back next month and make a decision.
But just so we're clear, we have to make a change from the current system, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we can still use, that's this first column. We can still use Mobile Beacon, which is our current provider, but we have to buy new devices. That's just, they have to have T-Mobile cards, and the T-Mobile cards don't work with and they have to be T-Mobile devices, not Sprint devices. So they've been running them in parallel for a while, and that's going to sunset by the end of June.
Well, I mean, my little opinion is that 5G has more capacity and leaves us with more room to grow. The fact that we had to double from 15 devices to 30 says it is a service that our patrons are using, and I would move towards 5G. I would be comfortable with that.
Thank you.
Other thoughts on that? I agree. I think we should go to 5G. I think we're well within the budget parameters. So
Yeah, I would agree with that. The impact on the annual budget is about $6,000 a year.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a service that gets well used.
And I notice this is not an area of expertise for me, so I defer to people who are more technologically oriented than I am. But I notice that the device cost, there is none for T-Mobile. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yeah, that's what they had on their website. We have to lock them in. We have to get them locked in. We wanted to figure out which way we wanted to go before we got into real lock horn negotiations with them on this.
Yeah, I think it's a go.
All right. Well, then I'll tell you what, we'll move forward exploring that option. I think we're gonna recommend T-Mobile. We've been happy with their service, and I'll come back with a proposal next month, but we'll start the negotiations with them and just see where we get to.
all right, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Is
Thank you,
there a
everybody.
reason to wait? Is there a reason to wait and give you the authority to move on this?
I don't, if you guys are comfortable with this, I don't think there's any reason to wait. It's not going to be any different.
It would come back as a contract or as an expenditure. We'd have to approve.
Right. Correct. It's over my limit. So even the 1 year is over my limit.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's anything in the negotiation process where he would really need the authority to
Yeah.
move. Is
I'm
there
wondering,
something in
Lisa-
procurement that you can come back to, like the treasurer or the president, and you can move forward with it if you need to on short notice?
We can in an emergency situation.
That's not really emergency.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't sure if Lisa and Caroline have an opinion to share. I just, if
I'm supportive of the 5G.
Same here.
Okay.
So I guess I will make a motion to move for Jeff to move forward and further explore and potentially enter into a contract with T-Mobile for this 3-year service contract.
Okay. Any second on the motion?
A second. Pardon me.
Okay. And any further questioning? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Okay, any opposition? Okay, abstentions? Okay, seeing none, the motion passes.
I guess my only other comment would be that just
Sure.
if you get into it and you see a problem, you
Yeah,
can
let us
always
know.
stop the process and come back and check with this next month. But
I will
think
come back.
it's best
Yep.
to just move forward with it and try to get it in place.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel this is the right move. I just, I think with what people are doing with the internet now, it's only something that's out of date is only going to get more out of date as we move forward. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, great. So moving on to the investment policy on pages 29 to 32.
So we are, according to the investment policy, we are required to review it annually. The finance committee met, or we discussed it over online via email. And the Finance Committee does not recommend any changes. The policy works well, and we didn't see the need to make any changes. We wanted to get it before you so you could, have a look, and we could have any discussion if necessary.
I think even with the changes with the new Treasury bill, the policy still holds. I thought that was a good test.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess the thing to point out is that the board delegates authority to the treasurer to implement the policy and to make recommendations and purchases as needed.
But to be very clear, the treasurer can act on her own authority to enter into a treasury bill. So I want to make it very clear. Last month, we voted to purchase a treasury, which was perfectly fine for us to vote on that. But in an ongoing situation, Sherry has the authority, or Sherry or Jeff, I believe, right, has the authority to enter into an agreement at any time if they see fit. They would certainly report back to the board, but I didn't want to leave the board with the impression that it would always come to the board ahead of time, because that's not the policy that we have or that I think we need.
Right.
But I think this policy is well set up.
Why would we give that authority up? I'm just a philosophical question. Or why would we delegate an authority depending on how much money is involved? I'm just asking the board.
Yeah, we actually, go ahead.
Typically, in any organization, you leave that to your financial person. Otherwise, if we had anything coming due, she would have to bid it and then come back to us. I mean, you don't, I don't know, that's just not the way you would do it. I don't know why we would want to do it. What would we be concerned about?
Just historically, the method that this gets used, for instance, for purchasing CDs, we talked extensively with the Bethlehem School District, and this is how their investment policy is set up. And obviously, if there's any changes that have to be made, if the CD is coming to maturity, and there was an opportunity to move that into another CD, you don't want to have to wait for the timing of the board meeting to be able to do that and to bid those out.
Right.
Okay. And is there kind of regular reporting besides like quarterly or something? I mean, something.
Well,
as a trustee, I would at least want to have some kind of update from time to time.
Right, of course. I mean, any changes that we would make, or any updates, any rollovers from an old CD to a new CD, or the maturity of a treasury bill to the purchase of a new one, all of those actions would be reported to the board, certainly.
Yeah, that would be on the monthly report, probably, right? Or
Right,
would be at least in the verbiage
exactly.
that goes with the monthly report.
Right.
Yeah.
And Sherry, that's probably something that we might want to consider putting into your report, $1 million treasury and when it's going to be due. So that everybody would see right on the report when it's coming due, and if they had questions about, what we were going to do, or look at the cash flow, that. But I don't think it's something we would get into every month and say, well, how much do you think you're going to roll it over for, or whatever. I mean, we just would delegate that to the treasurer.
I would feel comfortable with Mary is proposing too, that as things are coming due, just to at least flag it to us for us.
Right, of course.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the investment policy? We should probably get a motion to renew it.
I don't know that we need a motion because we're not changing it.
Okay.
I think we want to note in the minutes that the board has reviewed it, but I don't know that we need a motion. Jeff, what do you think?
Go to the top of the policy. Let me just see what it says there.
It says revised.
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 Yeah.
Take a vote.
Yeah.
Why not? We can just even say revised. We'll just do it. We'll list it under the dates.
Yeah, or renewed or adopted, readopted or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Renewed, yeah.
So moved.
Okay, any second?
I'll second.
Okay, Caroline, thank you. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, any abstentions? Okay, any opposition? Okay, seeing none, that motion carries, so that policy is renewed. Opening meeting law change.
Okay, so I'll try to be. I've told this story several times now. I'm getting better at telling it, so I'll be super
Yeah.
quick about it. So during the pandemic, the governor had an emergency authorization that allows us to do this meeting right here completely virtual, as long as there is an executive order, an executive emergency order. So that right now it continues through May 15th. I have no reason to expect that that won't continue to get kicked out for at least the next 3 or 4 months as a sort of current wave hopefully comes up and crashes down a little bit. But at some point in the future, that's going to expire. Fingers crossed. Okay. Absent that, in the budget, there were some changes to open meeting law. Traditionally, before COVID, if a trustee of our library wanted to participate in this meeting via teleconference, they would had to have declared the other end of the teleconference an open public forum, declared the address ahead of time of the meeting. So it would have been, this meeting is taking place at Bethlehem Public Library and, some random conference room at a hotel in Boca Raton, Florida. And that would have had to been open where any member of the public who wanted to come in and participate on the other end would have had to have been able to do that. All right. That was how teleconference participation, voting participation over video conference was allowed in the pre-pandemic days. The changes that have recently been put in require that as long as there is a quorum in the room. So at the library, in our case, there would be 4 voting members would be in the room at the library. Up to 3 other members could participate over video conference without having to declare their location. My basement of my house is now a public. You don't have to declare that. And would allow, as long as it's video conferencing, not teleconference. You can't vote over phone. You have to be visible like we are on the screen right now in order to vote and participate. In order to do that, the board has to adopt a policy that mentions under what exigent circumstances that the board would allow a member to participate remotely. Healthcare reasons, childcare, travel for business. You could have a laundry list, and then at the end you could say something like, and other reasons deemed appropriate by the board, something like that. We have to have a policy. Then we have to have a public hearing on that policy, and that has to be voted in and approved. So I think it would be a good idea for us to begin work on that. Right now, we're operating under the authority of this emergency executive order, which is fine. But I think it would be nice to be able to have the flexibility to allow people to participate remotely in the future, for the complete foreseeable future. But I do think it would be a good idea, not now, maybe at next month's meeting, for us to have a discussion. We'll start it off in the policy committee and talk about what would be the reasons this board would want to allow members to participate remotely. Again, given that at least 4 people were in the room at the library. Does that sound something you'd like me to pursue?
I suggest, as a member of the policy committee, Jeff, I would recommend that you take a crack at it. You and your staff take a crack of it and then send it to the policy committee, and then we'll take a crack at it and then present it even as a draft to the board. And then if we need another month, we'll just get additional feedback during the next meeting and then keep working on it.
Great. Okay. I just wanted to bring up that it's complicated because we're in a full virtual mode right now. And those 2 things are kind of running in parallel. But I think this is important, and it's really actually a very forward and progressive change. I think it would actually make recruitment for the board maybe a little bit easier in the future, and I am into that. So anyway, thank you for that. I'll let you go. We'll get that started. We'll take a crack. I haven't seen a model policy yet. I was hoping something might come out of Upper Hudson for that, or one of the other libraries, but we'll take a crack at putting that together and get that out to the policy committee.
Does anyone else from the policy committee have anything to add or make a suggestion, or anyone else from the trustees?
No, I think that's a good idea. And as I said, I think we should be as expansive as possible in the policy. So write it broad, and we can we can tweak it or look at it in the policy committee.
Will do. I mean, this is one of those powers that's left to the trustees. The board decides for itself under home rule what those reasons are, and I think it's a good opportunity to have that conversation. So we do have to have a public hearing before it's enacted. So
Sure.
we don't do that all that often, but kind of we just do it at the front of a board meeting when
Yeah.
we're ready to go with it. All right. Thank you.
Okay, great. Moving on to old business, the director evaluation process on page 34.
We have one
Oh,
more thing.
sorry.
on other-
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Kristen. She promised
okay.
she would nudge my elbow. Included in your packet on page 33, but not included as an action item on the agenda. I apologize for that. It's my fault.
That's okay. Yeah.
I have a proposal for to purchase 5 new laptops
Oh, right. Okay.
for the total of just $9,993.95. With the note, the most important note of this being that these are for the purposes of video editing, and we'll have full video editing software on them. These are to be checked out at the information desk by patrons who can for video editing purposes, and therefore they are a reimbursable expense from the PEG money because it's one of the products of the laptops could end up being videos that end up on the public access channel. So it's over my authorization limit, so I would like permission to pursue this purchase.
Can you explain the reimbursable part again, please?
Absolutely. I'll try not to. Yes, I will. So in your cable franchise agreement with the town of Bethlehem, anybody who is a cable subscriber pays 17 cents per month for the franchise fee. That's both for Verizon, Fios, and Spectrum. And that money goes to support public education and government, in our case, public access television. So the library runs the public access channel for the community. On there are some community aired programs, some from the region. This library trustees, town of Bethlehem board, school boards run on this channel. And because it's a public channel, the public needs to have access to that. And one of the ways they have access to that is that they can film their content and then edit it on the computers in the library. So we have Adobe software to edit the video, and then we take that, which is uploaded, and we play it on the channel, on our public access channel. Because that is an output from the equipment, it is reimbursable from the PEG fund that lives next door at the town of Bethlehem. So it's paid for by cable subscribers.
So it's fully reimbursable? We don't have any
Fully reimbursable.
Great.
So that's what I want to know. So you have an amount here, but basically the amount that comes out is going to be zero.
Zero. Right.
Thank you. That's what I was basically asking.
Right.
Okay.
You know, and that there are other uses of the laptops. People may be browsing the internet or checking their email. That's all allowable as long as one of the products of these laptops is that it can produce video content for the PEG channel.
Okay, great. I'll take a motion on this.
Mary, I think Mary made the motion.
So moved.
Great. Second. Do I have a second? I can't.
Got Lisa.
second.
Lisa
Okay,
and
great.
Caroline, your choice.
2 seconds. Great. Okay. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3. I'm whipping through the. Okay, great. Thanks. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion carries as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. That sounds great. Okay, so moving on to old business, the director evaluation process, page 34. There was an email, separate email too, I think that went around.
Yep, and all that information that was included in the email was in the previous month's board packet that was in
Right,
there as
right.
well. So that all that information should be in everybody's hand. It includes the timeline for
Yeah.
the director evaluation process,
Yeah, the personnel committee received no recommendations for changes on the instrument or the timeline, so those will go into play. And then Mark, as member of the committee, had developed these questions that would go out to staff as part of what we call, I think it's called 360 evaluation, or basically where we canvass the staff for additional input or whoever the personnel committee is. And these are the questions.
Okay, any questions or comments on that set of documents?
I do think on number 4, it says, I think it was supposed to say, I feel challenged in a positive way at my job. I think there's some revisions that aren't reflected here, but. Right. I remember I edited some of this and I'm not sure that the editor in
Okay.
here.
Okay.
But
Well,
I remember specifically commenting on 4 saying I felt challenged in a positive way, but we'll just, but this is the general intent of the questions.
Yeah, we might tweak the questions a little bit, but just to try to get a sense of the culture and the full staff. Take a look at the full staff review.
all right. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think we need a vote on this, but we'll move forward. That's the process. We can tweak some of those questions. That's
Great.
great. We'll get that
And just so
process
that people remember, I don't have the timeline right in front of me, and I don't think Jeff has it can show it right now. It will start in the summer, as I believe the director starts developing a vision and goals, and that will be reviewed by the Board of Trustees in the fall. Then that forms the basis for the subsequent year's evaluation, and the actual evaluation process, don't quote me on this, kicks off sometime in maybe November, December, and is completed by January, February.
You got it.
Yep.
And I just wondered, shoot, am I mute? No. Okay.
Nope.
I can hear you.
I just wondered, what was the impetus for doing this every year? In the past, we've done it every 2 years, I think. I'm just wondering, is there?
Yeah, we talked about we've been hit and miss in the last number of years. So we talked about trying to get on a more regular schedule. So we could do it every 2 years, but I think the personnel committee recommended to do it yearly, just to get it back on schedule. Actually, I don't know, Charmaine, if you have anything more to add on that. But.
And we spoke to Jeff and asked him if he met with his staff, I think annually, once a year on valuation. I believe the answer was yes. So I think it was a personnel committee is like, why wouldn't the director meet with the board every year and receive some feedback? Maybe it doesn't have to be as formal every year, and maybe every other year it's more of an informal discussion, or maybe kind of like the tenure process in higher ed, a check-in to see where he's going in terms of the goals that he has outlined and identified as part of the process. But I think based on the last meeting, we were going forward with an annual evaluation.
Yeah.
Like most people get in their jobs, but it wasn't flagging anything. It was more, how do we get on track and what would best serve both the trustees and the director and the library.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts to share or concerns to share, Michelle?
Well, I'm just sensitive to, I don't know, adding anything more to Jeff's plate. It's I can't remember actually if we usually receive an annual report from Jeff about his vision. Do we?
No, and I think that's actually I'm reporting back to you monthly in the monthly reports, but I think I welcome an opportunity to have a conversation about where we are. I think that wraps into the long range plan as well. It's hard to separate me from the goals of the organization. We have both of them in there, but happy to have that conversation. It's a good time for me to think and reflect on that as well.
And I think the committee can work with Jeff or the trustee as to how specific and detailed those have to be. Sometimes it's just, these are the areas that I hope to focus on in the coming year, and this is how it wraps, and that's it. But then the trustees do have a more detailed process and a rating scale for the major sections, which we distributed, I think, last month, and people had a month to consider.
Okay.
Okay, so
Great.
we don't need a motion on it, I don't
Nope.
think. All right, so moving on to the building committee, recommendation for architectural design services. So Harmeet, I don't know if you want to do a quick update of where we are in the building committee.
Yeah, sure. Just a quick update. So we finished meeting with 3 architects, Envision, Ashley McGraw, who the school district uses, and Architecture Plus. All 3 of them, I think, had a fair amount of experience with both public or school libraries. So we were impressed with them, generally speaking. And really what it came down to, the building committee's recommendation was to go with Ashley McGraw, based on their experience with SED and with the bonding process, since our building plans here will very likely require a bond, and there is nobody currently left in the library or on the trustees who has been through this process for the library specifically. So having an architect who also is familiar with that process, the communication paths to kind of educate the public about what it takes to get a bond out and the details of the bond seemed like a really valuable adder in addition to their very solid technical expertise and their library experience. So that was the recommendation. Questions?
Harmy, what was the name of the firm again? I didn't quite get it.
Ashley McGraw.
Axley McGraw?
Ashley McGraw.
Okay, thank you.
So do we need a vote to?
Yeah, I think we should probably take a vote on the recommendation. So,
Well, also, does anyone have any questions or?
yeah.
I just wanted to ask, what is it that we're actually voting on in terms of just pursuing a contract with them or more than that?
Yeah, my understanding is that we're going to vote on the choice and then in starting to engage in a process to develop a contract with them. So it's not on a contract. It's on like, okay, the building committee met with 3. We're going to pick this one, and then others will take a process to go through to develop a contract.
And then that will come back and be voted on formally by the board. So it's,
Yeah.
we're not committing money at this time. I think it's a formal acknowledgement of the choice of firm that the library selected to work with.
Yeah. Is it, we're authorizing you to extend or hire them basically, and then the details of the contract will come back.
Correct.
Okay, so this process, and I'm just no way reflect my lack of support because I believe this is the right thing to do. So we are choosing who we want to work with as opposed to just blindly bidding and take whoever has a lower bid or evaluating it that way. I just want to,
Correct.
that this is how we have chosen to
Yeah.
approach it and
Right.
to choose who we want to partner with.
Right. As a professional service, which the architects absolutely are, the trustees are allowed to select and hire who you want, just like an attorney or an accountant. You're allowed to choose who you want to work with. We did interview. We've had a relationship with past architects. We've interviewed 3 to really get a good look at where we are. I'm pleased with the process. I think it was very educational for me to have the conversations with the architects. So.
I think now that we're talking about it, I think this is what we did with HVAC too. We
Correct.
didn't bid it and then choose.
Right.
We interviewed
Yeah,
and chose in that same way. So this is consistent with what we've done in the past. And I know I have a lot of confidence in the committee that worked on this, so I support this.
And Jeff, do you have a copy of the slides that Ashley McGraw? Because they did. Each of the firms did a presentation. It was remote, obviously, but they had slides and talked about and. So that may or may not be helpful for the trustees to have also.
I will send that to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume they've worked with, in addition to school districts like Bethlehem, they've worked with some other libraries that
Yes.
are local.
Yeah,
The answer-
their
yeah, well,
experience with public libraries and university and school libraries was extensive.
Okay. And I would guess that would be on their slides, right?
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
I will also, I'm probably repeating myself and I apologize, just pointing out that the money for this contract would need to come from surplus funds. It would not be part of the operating budget. And any future, unless the budget is modified or something, and any construction phase work, okay, unless we specifically budget money for that, we will need to fund all of this from separate funds from the operating budget. That's not to say we couldn't decide to buy some small things from the operating budget, but the operating budget should not be seen as a bridge cash flow, for this project. Does that make sense to everybody?
Correct.
Okay.
So if you'd like, I have the presentation from them. If you'd like me to put it up, I can put it on the screen for you right now. I've also emailed it to everybody. Your choice. I can share that out.
I'm fine with email, but obviously I've seen it before, so if
You're
anybody
right.
wanted to go
Yeah,
through
please
it now, we could do that. But otherwise, that's just review it on email and raise any
I'm
questions.
fine
if
with
you have
just
them.
in an email. I'm fine. We don't have to take the time now.
Yep, I'm fine with reviewing it as well.
Any other questions on selection of Ashley McGraw as our prime candidate to work with for architecture services?
No, I thank the people that worked on it. It's a big commitment to make that choice. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So we'll make a motion to proceed with Ashley McGraw. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, see no opposition or abstentions. That motion's carried. Thanks, Harmeet. And I look forward to the future on this process. It should be very interesting. Okay, great. So I have a agenda item for future business. Any other items that people, board trustees members want to raise? Or Jeff, any future business?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Looping back to our discussion about the 5G hotspots.
Yeah.
Is there any way that any part or all of that process could be funded from storage money?
You're a part of it, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Forward-facing technology. Yeah, I don't think we were viewing that as ongoing, sort of subscription kind of things, but maybe we can
But if
look
we're
at
passing
yeah.
into a higher level, I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
wondering. Maybe they would like to even partner with us and share part of it, but.
Excellent. That's a good idea, Mary. I hadn't considered that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions, future business trustees? Okay, any public participation?
Oh, I'm on. I forgot. I got to go back.
Well, just checking a quick question. So there's going to be an election. Do the new trustees come in? What happens? Do they come next?
Yep,
Funny,
so-
you should ask that.
Funny you should ask that
That's
question.
all it was.
Look
Like, do
into
they
that.
get sworn in, or is it next? Is it like
do.
in
That's-
August? July? What happened?
Not
It's
yet.
July. Okay, so
July.
very good. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
So they're elected, officially elected in May. Mary's term of office runs through midnight on June 30th. So she will be here through the June board meeting. And then, if there was any official action between the end of the June board meeting and the end of June, if we had a special board meeting or something, Mary is still an official voting member. The new trustees officially take their seat. Their term begins on July 1st, but they're sworn in at the meeting in July. We would traditionally invite them to come to the board meeting in June. We will also invite them to the annual Upper Hudson annual celebration. It's a good opportunity, in our traditional times when we were able to have those things, a good way to sit at a table and just get a little bit of get to know you with the other trustees and some of the staff. So, we'll do that again this time. And, but yeah, it'll be July 1 for the new July meeting for the new trustees. June meeting is the final meeting of the fiscal year.
And Mary, how many terms have you been with us?
10 years.
10 years.
2 full terms.
And how long as president?
I don't know.
We got it.
Years.
We got it. We got it. A lot, 5, more. So we'll.
Okay.
I got it.
I'm glad you do. It was all a blur to me.
I'm sorry. Kristen's got it. That's who has it.
Right. Yeah. So Mary, you got one more meeting with us. You got to hang in there for one more meeting with us.
Yeah.
So.
Good thing I asked, because I did not think, I just thought May was it. So I was not planning on it. Mark's like, I don't think so.
I was like, I couldn't remember. It was like, okay, they're elected in May, but when? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you. I'll be
Thank
happy
you.
to join you next month.
Great. Any public participation?
None.
None? Okay,
Zero.
do we want to do executive session?
I have nothing to report. If we can, I'm happy to do so if the will of the board is that.
Yeah, actually, I'm inclined, let's do a very quick one.
Okay.
That's okay. So I'll call for a motion for executive session.
For the purposes of discussing the employment history of an individual, of a particular person.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, great. Thanks. Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor, please raising their hand. Aye. Okay, motion